So our next discussion here looks to be revolving around multi-cloud and hybrid cloud integration, which is definitely a problem area. I know a lot of the customers that I've worked with say, we're not going to go multi-cloud, and then you look into their tech stack a little bit, and you're like, well, you're using Azure AD, you're using Google Analytics, you're in GKE, but you've got storage buckets over in AWS, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. A lot of enterprises, as they merge or acquire other companies, to just inherit these multi-cloud decisions, even though it's not something that maybe they chose to do at the higher level. So this is a topic that will just continue to, I think, evolve over the years, and I'm really looking forward to Atef giving us some background and some insight on this, especially coming from an IBM perspective. I think this will be really fun. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, and you can lead the charge here on the multi-cloud discussion.
Thank you, Eric. I really much appreciate the discussion today, and I really hope that everyone is gonna learn something out of this presentation. So yeah, today we're gonna talk about hybrid multi-cloud, and then there is a need for changes in organization strategies, because there is a need. There are new requirements. Infrastructure is changing rapidly, and digitalization is a key for success to most of the organizations. But where have we come from? So we came from security as an isolated IT function. We came from traditional tools and technology. We came from defined policies based on IPs and hosts. We came from stopping all known bad activities, perform regular checks, manual processes, just random segmentations, but we needed to change. And as I said, digitalization has been the main driver for this change. And so digitalization, what companies want to digitalize and modernize their businesses. And this should impact three main pillars: gaining customers and partners, loyalty, optimize the cost, and improvement of the way of working. This is always what we hear from customers. So, but security is impacting each of these business goals. So when we talk about customers and partners, loyalty, security assures trust in digital experience, personalization, expansion of product ecosystems, proper integration, stronger alliances, co-innovation partnership. When we talk about cost optimization and making profit, we think about confidence in adding new technologies, particularly automation and artificial intelligence. Now, we talk about improvement of security processes. When we think about improvement of enterprise operating model, we think automatically about increasing business agility and secure by design innovation and transformation. So security is everywhere in those business goals, and is impacting those business goals significantly. Now, in order to achieve those business goals, hybrid multi-cloud became a reality. And as we can see that 85% of the organizations are already operating in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. 98% plan to use hybrid multi-cloud by 2021, and 41% have hybrid multi-cloud security strategy in place, according to the IBM Institute for Business Value survey, surveying 1,106 business and technology executives. Those results are confirmed with the recent survey by CSA, Cloud Security Alliance, which is done by February 2021, and says that 79% of the respondents say that those respondents are using hybrid multi-cloud. So the picture look like that. We have multiple cloud from multiple vendors, as well as multiple technologies, multiple tools. They all need to integrate. They all need to work together, you know, in an abstract matter to provide a better security. So the problem with that, as you can see through the picture, is that there is you know, a cumbersome and insecure deployment. They may be very cumbersome to look at this at security at multiple cloud vendors from multiple tools and from multiple vendors and with the multiple tools in multiple different environments, and each of those environments have their own you know, requirements, have their own specificities. So you know, we may have sensitive and regulated data exposed. We may have costly rework of workloads. We've seen companies spending millions and millions to just rework their workload, and the result may even come to you know, to the result may be inconsistent security as the workload moves, and we may have inefficient incident response. We may have limited visibility after moving to this hybrid multi-cloud environment. So it's very challenging to be in such a setup. And actually, one of the you know, those challenges can be seen in a recent survey by the Sense Institute performed in February 2021, which says that companies in a hybrid multi-cloud security are lacking visibility. This is one of the biggest challenges in this setup. Companies lack visibility. Companies may lose control over users and may have poor integration between those different environments. If we look at the main challenges, so we have three main challenges: visibility, integration between those environments, and users accessing those environments. So we need to have something different. We need to think differently. We need to think of something called a hybrid multi-cloud security strategy. And actually, surprisingly enough, that actually most of the organizations, you know, as we've seen in the surveys, only 41% have strategy, and those are for bigger organizations. Most of the other organizations do not have a hybrid multi-cloud security strategy. They felt obliged to have a multi-cloud security strategy, security setup, for example, due to merger and acquisitions. But then there were no methodology or no you know, to have better visibility, to have a better control, and to have more flexibility. So we need a cloud security strategy to gain visibility. As the right level of visibility and granularity on users, data, and workload is necessary to take the appropriate action. So we need to take to have better visibility to take the appropriate actions. We need to have controls, as we must have centralized visibility to make near real-time efficient and effective decisions. And then we need to have flexibility, such as a security strategy must be able to pivot and adapt to changing business goals. So here we need to keep in mind that, you know, this hybrid multi-cloud security will satisfy our business goal, but we need to have a methodology to wrap up you know, security based on those business goals. So in order to make a security strategy, there is a very simple methodology. The methodology is based on three main phases, and if we reach a certain level of maturity, which is basically the assessment, where you identify the business context and your business context, and you define the organization. You identify the organization data, you map applications and workload, you identify the critical applications and the critical data, and which applications and data move to the cloud and stay on-premise. Then we identify the cloud security posture through conducting interviews and workshops and capture the current state findings. Then we identify the observations and findings through consolidating the assessment findings. Then we identify the target state through gap analysis, where we conduct gap analysis to the target state and develop recommendations. And we define projects based on those recommendations, and security projects and security programs. Then we reiterate, because this work is a work which doesn't end. So there are always a need for adaptability because there is new business requirements coming into place. There is new regulations. There are new regulations. There are new compliance requirements. So this strategy is not a dead body. It's a living body able to adapt every time. So, but is security a Big Bang theory? Is security a Big Bang? Security has never been Big Bang. The strategy, the security strategy should increase in maturity. The security strategy should grow over time to reach a better maturity. So when we talk about ad hoc security, ad hoc security strategy, we talk about organizations which follow up legacy security mindset in the cloud. When we talk about a managed level, we think about organizations which have gained some maturity and that they will rationalize security controls and crown jewels in both on-prem and cloud. When we talk about defined security, we talk about organizations which enhance their security capabilities through more focus on consistent, this is a key word, consistent security and security by design. And in the next adaptive maturity level, we talk about organization which fully embrace DevSecOps. And at the highest maturity level, we talk about organization that will achieve high level of automation. That's another keyword, high level of automation of security services, either through security as a code or through CI/CD pipeline, or through better visibility and granular control of user and workload through implementation of zero trust, for example. So security has never been Big Bang and will never be Big Bang. And security will grow over time, will improve over time. And this is actually a general or high level overview of how security will grow over time. But then this doesn't say anything, basically. So how can we identify at which level we are? So that's why we need to go through each of the security domains and ask about governance, and I understand how the governance would look like, how the metrics and reporting would look like in our organization, how cloud security, how the cloud security culture is implemented in our organization, how the security operations and the SOC in general is implemented in our organization, how identity and access management is performed, how application security is implemented, how data security is performed, and how infrastructure security is implemented. So we have 8 domains to ask about, to understand, in order to identify in which maturity level we are. So starting with the governance and risk management, the main maturity criteria is the existence of formal methodology for risk management. So here we are talking about, in the ad hoc level, we're talking about security risk which may have been identified or not. In the managed level, in a bit higher maturity level, we talk about security risk and compliance which may be reviewed for some systems manually, and a lack of formal methodologies. At the higher level, we talk about formal methodology. We talk about assessment of technical and business impact for most cloud solutions. In the adaptable and optimized level, we talk about organizations which start which are ISO certified, ISO 27005 certified, and they have defined risk management processes, and that are continuously working on optimizing those processes through risk-based design and through continuous review of risks and the implementation of security controls. So at the adaptive and optimized level, we're talking about organizations that are ISO certified, while for ad hoc managed and defined, we talk about organizations that may have risk management processes in place. They may have defined those processes, but those are not part of the organization culture. We don't have a security by design. We don't have continuous reviews of those risks and continuous improvements. Unfortunately, most of the organizations are in managed and defined level. When we're talking about metrics and reporting, here the consistency of security metrics over on-prem and the cloud is the main criteria for maturity in the security metrics collection and reporting. So in the lowest maturity level, we talk about poorly defined security reporting metrics. In the managed level, we talk about metrics which are captured, but not in a consistent basis. So, for example, we may capture some metrics and not capture others, or may capture metrics in on-prem, but not in the cloud, or the opposite. We may capture metrics on the cloud, but not on-prem. But when we start talking about defined level, we start talking about metrics captured on consistent basis. So the same metrics will be captured both on-prem and in the cloud. We talk about metrics which are reviewed on a timely manner and require minimal effort for analysis. However, when to reach a higher maturity, we talk about dashboards. We start talking about dashboards, scorecards to drive higher level of analysis. And then in order to reach the highest maturity level, we talk about metrics which are reviewed periodically and then updated to support continuous improvements. So here we can see how the metrics and reporting improves over time through more sophisticated tools, through more sophisticated processes, and through more sophisticated processes. It's very important to understand that the maturity is not gained through more tools. We cannot just gain maturity through just buying more tools and then adding more tools to our assets, list of assets. It's more about integrating both on-premise and the cloud in the same in a consistent way, and then have better visibility and then continuous improvement of those metrics for both environments. And the consistency here is a key word in metrics and reporting. So the same type of metrics should be collected for both on-prem and the cloud. Regarding cloud security culture, the main maturity criteria is that who receives the training and the training frequency. So, for example, in ad hoc, we may say that, okay, training may exist, but not for cloud security. In the managed, we may think that some users and admins are trained on cloud security. In the defined, we may see that training is actually applied for both users and admins annually performed. In the adaptive, we are talking about the training is tested, and effectiveness of this training is verified. And at the optimized level, we talk about training which is tracked and updated and customized in order to improve the effectiveness. So this is how the involvement in cloud security culture over the five maturity levels. Now, next, we're going to talk about the SOC, and the SOC is very important here in a hybrid cloud setup in order to gain visibility over security incidents and over threats. And the main maturity criteria for SOC is a proper integration of SOC tools across on-prem and on the cloud, as well as defined incident management processes for both environment, of course, for the whole organization. So in the ad hoc level, we can see that logs are collected for some clouds and on-prem assets, but then we are more about reactivity here. In the ad hoc, we're talking about, yeah, there are some tools which exist in both environments, but those are separate tools and lack of consistency. And then so we have different type of tools and separate tools in each of those environments, and we don't have a centralized visibility. And that's actually the main defining criteria for the managed maturity level. For the defined maturity level, which is a bit higher maturity, we start talking about defined incident management processes, we start talking about SOC skills, and we start talking about centralized SOC. And this is very important here. Unfortunately, we've seen that many of the organizations do not have a centralized SOC, do not even have the SOC skills. So I would say most of the organizations are still in the managed level. They didn't even reach the defined level. We didn't even talk about continuous integration of log sources. We don't talk about level 2 and level 3 teams. We don't talk about continuous updates of the playbooks for incident response. So yeah, most of the organization is unfortunately at the managed level, at the low maturity, if I'm allowed to say so. And then the optimized level, which is the highest maturity level, we're going to talk about, automation. Automation is actually a key criteria for maturity in incident management, especially in a hybrid cloud setup. We talk about soared, which is security orchestration, automation, and response. We talk about optimizing remediation plan through continuous testing and scanning. So yes, this is the highest maturity level. But again, most of the organization for the moment have just some tools on-prem and on the cloud, which are not consistent and do not offer a centralized visibility. And that's one of the reasons why the organization are suffering from the lack of visibility. Regarding IAM, for IAM, the main maturity level in a hybrid multi-cloud setup is dependent on the implementation of identity federation, the implementation of the multi-factor authentication MFA, and the adoption of PAM, privileged identity management. So in ad hoc level, we can say that the authentication is local. In the managed level, which is unfortunately the case for most of the organization, we have centralized authentication within each of the environments, inconsistent MFA. So some admins have MFA, some do not, and basic PAM, which for example has only account discovery. And the defined level, which is a bit higher maturity, we start talking about identity federation, we start talking about MFA for all admins, and we start talking about PAM with automation capabilities for credential protection. At the bit higher level, we start talking about MFA for all admins, we start talking about certificates, and we start talking about advanced PAM. So this is what defines the adaptive and optimized level. Again, unfortunately, most of the organization are between managed and defined level for PAM. Now, when we talk about application security, the maturity level in application security is dependent on when and how security testing is performed with software development lifecycle, and how much automation is performed as well. So, unfortunately, again, most of the organization are in the managed or defined level. And this consists, and for the managed level, it consists of inconsistent SDLC, security development lifecycle. And then some testing is performed, but lacks integration with the development team. So yeah, testing is inconsistent, is not integrated in the development process, And if it's integrated, it's going to be mostly static testing, while dynamic testing will be a separate process. And this is the case for the defined maturity. What is interesting is that when we start talking about automation when in the adaptive maturity level, and DevSecOps is the highest maturity level. Surprisingly, now we're talking mostly about DevSecOps everywhere, and we believe that DevSecOps can be implemented by all organizations. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The DevSecOps represent the highest maturity level when we are talking about automation, CI/CD pipelines. We are talking about monitoring. We are talking about threat modeling. All this is presented at the highest maturity level for organizations. And unfortunately, most of the organizations are between the managed and defined maturity. When we talk about data security, the main maturity criteria is understanding data ownership, lifecycle, data classification, key management. Key management is a key criteria for data security in a hybrid multi-cloud setup. And unfortunately, most of the organizations do not have consistent key management methodologies and capabilities in on-prem and the cloud, as well as data activity monitoring, data loss prevention, which represents the setup when we talk about higher level of maturity. But then in the managed and defined, where most of the organization are, we don't really have proper understanding of the roles and responsibilities. Not all data is encrypted. We don't have consistent key management across the environments. We may have some data classification, but it's still it's not consistent across all data. We don't have a visibility over where the data is, either it is on-prem or in the cloud, and why it is on-prem and in the cloud. So this is actually a very, very common setup in most of the organization. However, in order to reach a higher level, we start talking about consistent key management through bring your own key or kiosk. We talk about data discovery. We talk about automated data classification. We talk about risk-based policies for data protection. When we talk about CASP, Cloud Access Security Broker, and which has data loss prevention capabilities. So those are unfortunately at the very high level of maturity, while most of the organizations are currently at the level where they are trying to classify data and trying to manage the data on the cloud in the same way they are doing it currently on-prem. For CMDB, here we're talking about the main criteria is about existence of tools and the update of the CMDB. So this is again very important that we have. We are not only having tools for CMDB, but we are updating it. And actually, we've seen that most of the organizations, which they even have, they have tools for CMDB, they don't even update it. So they are, they are actually missing data, even though it's in the cloud, missing data from on-prem, missing data in the cloud. There are no processes to update those the CMDB automatically. There are no tools for that. So yeah, unfortunately, most of the organization is between the managed and defined, while adaptive and optimized is really optimistic for most of the organization, where we talk about automated discovery and update of those CMDB tools. And regarding secure provisioning, the main criteria here is the workload provisioning is dependent on existing processes and mechanisms to secure provisioning. So here we're talking about existing and defined processes to secure the workload when provisioned in the cloud. So yeah, actually I wanted to make sure that. Actually, in order to create an end-to-end roadmap for security, we need to take into consideration business processes and people. And not only that, we need to take into consideration business, processes, technology, and people. Security is about 4 pillars and not 3 pillars as used to be. Here, we are not talking anymore about processes, technology, and people. We're talking about business processes, technology, and people. So it's very important to take into consideration that the business. And the idea of creating a roadmap for end-to-end security should take a business into consideration, should take business, should adapt to business requirements and new and business setup. So here, to quickly go through the roadmap for end-to-end security, we need to start with governance. Governance should be clearly defined in the beginning. Then once we are done with governance, we need to start with securing infrastructure, securing identity and access policies to crown jewels, integrated data security whenever and wherever data resides. Then we start, working on people and culture and security. We need to teach people how to consider security, how to prioritize security. And then we need to work as well on security monitoring and remediation. We need to work on integrated incident management through a single pane of glass. We need to work on automation and orchestration. We need to work on DevSecOps. And then finally, we need to work on zero trust. Again, as you can see here, DevSecOps and zero trust are kept at the end because those represent the highest maturity. Thank you for your time. This is my presentation.
Excellent. That was a really cool overview, and it's kind of nice. We focus so much on the tech side of things. I loved your quote about buying more tools and how that doesn't necessarily get you maturity, which I think a lot of times is missed in this space. I've got a couple questions queued up, and I know we're a little over time, but we've got a little bit of a buffer here, so we can probably squeeze 1 or 2 in without disrupting too much here. One question, and I get this one a lot, I'm curious on your perspective, is so as you know, a lot of organizations, were built with kind of these silos or pillars, if you will. And you said over and over again, one of the biggest pieces here is understanding the business process and focusing on the people and the culture first.
Exactly.
So what do you think are some key steps if you're in a siloed organization for getting the business process and the tech processes and that culture of collaboration established? What do you think we can do to try to overcome that a little bit?
Actually, what I've noticed is that most of the organizations are in siloed structure, actually. And unfortunately, this is the case. This is, here we need to have a buy-in from executives. Those are this is the first step towards higher maturity. The engagement from executives gonna help us, bypass those culture and structure restrictions and limitations. So once there is a buy-in from executives, where there is an engagement from executives, we need to work on work on improving this culture over time. And again, there is no Big Bang theory in security. This doesn't exist, and it takes time to bypass this siloed structure. It takes time to convince executives. Actually, I've talked to many CISOs. They believe, or they're actually to talk to many executives which believe that CISOs are part of IT. They are not executives. They don't have business decisions. They just deal with IT on the daily basis. And this is actually something which shocks me. How come security cannot be a part of business? How come security only deals with IT? And actually, when you talk to them, and they say, we believe that security should have a saying in business. But then how it's implemented? It's not implemented on the ground. So it's actually getting better involvement of security through buy-in from the executives, and this is how we need to start first. We need to improve the security culture of executives first. this is how the doors are open for better understanding of security and its impact on business. They've seen their executives are seeing a lot of changes over the last years about compliance requirements, about partners and customers requirements, but there are still there is a feeling of the importance of security, but on the concrete, on the ground, is still a way to go in order to make business believe that security is part of it, an important part of it. Maybe the language spoken by security practitioners is a bit too technical for executives, and that's actually what makes them a bit skeptical towards security, and they believe that security is too technical, is a showstopper, is a department of no. And they always trying to explain that security is never a showstopper. Security is a business enabler, and security is a department of yes, but, because we should accept that the business requirements should keep business as the highest priority. But then we need to tell what are the risks related to this business decision, and whether we accept that risk or not based on the risk appetite. So it's very important to keep that in mind, to make security easier to be understood by those business executives. So you gain better engagement from those executives. So this is actually the key towards conquering the executive mindset and their view towards security. And again, this is still the view into 2021. I still have discussion that, oh, security is too complex, is a showstopper, it's too technical. We don't really want it to be involved in our business decisions. So, but no, security should be understood in a different way.
Yeah, that's a great way to close that discussion out, just taking a look at that kind of holistic way to speak the same language. I'm reading the Unicorn Project right now by Gene Kim. Have you seen that one yet?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it kind of, as you were just saying that, it reminds me of a lot of the scenarios in that book. So for those of you out there that haven't read that, I would highly recommend picking that one up, because it is all about the technical folks, going to sit with the actual businesses and people on the front line to look at the process, the business process first, and then build the program around that first. And it's a really cool example that supports everything that you discussed. So thank you very much. I think
you're welcome.
Gone a little bit over, but that's all right. We've got a break coming up here. So we'll give you a virtual round of applause. Thanks for taking the time to share that with us, Tetef, and look forward to seeing you over in the Slack workspace. Jump in the hallway. If you've got questions, we'll continue the conversation over there.
Thank you. Thank you.